As you can tell by the title, I'm the obsessed movie man, O.M.M. You know, it's very rare that I come across a movie that has practically every genre. Action, romance, comedy, science fiction, adventure. But Back to the Future has practically all of it, and it pulls it off extremely well. The story is decent to begin with, but as it progresses, it just gets better and better. The movie is about teenager Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, living in the year 1985. He has a nerdy father named George, played by Crispin Glover, and an alcoholic mother named Lorraine, played by Lea Thompson, both of whom are tormented by the obnoxious Biff Tannen, played by Thomas Wilson. Marty is also friends with a scientist named Doc Brown, played by Christopher Lloyd, who managed to create a time machine out of a DeLorean. Through a mishap, Marty travels back to 1955, and by meeting his younger parents, he jeopardizes his own future existence. So now, Marty has to figure out a way to get back to the future. The romance story is a work of comedic brilliance, and it's Lea Thompson who makes it believable. In the story, Marty prevents George from meeting Lorraine, and so instead, Lorraine meets Marty and she falls in love with him instead of George. Lea Thompson has an innocent kind of quality to her performance, similar to that of a princess falling in love with a hero. Her innocence and adoration towards Marty is what makes the story more threatening, and the more and more Marty tries to push George towards her, the more and more she continues to swoon over Marty. So the story has two major conflicts: getting his parents back together, and getting back to 1985. Michael J. Fox plays the role perfectly. He acts just like a typical teenager, has problems with his parents, teachers are on his back, he has a girlfriend, and so on. The more the audience learns about Marty, the more they begin to relate to him and sympathize for him and the crisis that he needs to get out of. Crispin Glover is just so much fun to watch. His character is pretty much the stereotypical nerd, possibly even more so, because he's portrayed as someone who has no control over his life, being dominated by practically everyone around him: Biff, teachers, other students, even Marty. When Marty tries helping George to become more confident, it comes off as comedic irony, because now we have the son teaching the father how to become a man. But the two people who steal the show by far are Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown and Thomas Wilson as Biff Tannen. Doc Brown is similar to the cliché mad scientist, but he's not some evil mastermind who wants world domination. He's a struggling man whose devotion to science and absent-minded behavior makes him an outcast by the rest of the community, in both time eras. In 1955, Marty has to not only convince Doc that he's from the future, he has to get him to fix the time machine. It's here where we see his deep passion for science. He obsesses over the consequences of Marty's actions in this time period. He built a fully detailed model of the town just to explain how Marty will get back to the future. All his other inventions are shown, and many other things are displayed. Biff, like George and Doc, is another stock character, but like the others, he's a bit more unique. He's the cliché bully who humiliates and uses George, harasses Lorraine, and drinks, but instead of outright hating him, you get to enjoy how over-the-top Wilson plays him. Biff is possibly one of the worst types of beings that a human could possibly be. His stupidity is indeed hilarious, but he leaves a very strong presence by shouting demands, threatening people, and even attempting to rape Lorraine. To quote Biff himself, he is a butthead. A special mention has to be made for the time-traveling DeLorean. I would ask why one would make a time machine out of a DeLorean, but to quote Doc Brown himself, if you're gonna time travel, why not travel in style? And I highly agree. Despite being somewhat a failure as a car, the DeLorean was pretty impressive looking, and it, ironically enough, had this kind of future-like appearance. It fits in so well with this sci-fi tone that the movie is going for. Like many great movies, there are also many great scenes. There are many time period jokes, pop cultural references, but there are also very funny moments that don't rely on these kind of jokes. I have two favorite moments from the movie. The first one is when Doc Brown shows off the DeLorean for the first time and demonstrates how it works. It's a thrilling thing to see the DeLorean race down towards Marty and Doc, only to vanish and leave a trail of fire behind. On top of that, there are some pretty funny lines such as, "You just don't walk into a store and buy plutonium," and, "What did I tell you? 88 miles per hour!" My other favorite scene is when Marty plays the song "Johnny Be Good" at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, which his parents are at. It's great hearing the song, but it's even funnier when Marty starts jamming out on his guitar and the students dancing look at him like he's doing something very odd. Marty simply remarks that they may not be ready for it, but their kids are gonna love it. Back to the Future is a film that will be remembered for many things. It has recognizable characters with distinctive personalities, the story is exhilarating, having a fantastic premise of a son meeting his parents as teens, the comedy is written beautifully and all the comedic routines performed by certain characters are matched perfectly together. But the most important thing about Back to the Future is, it's an altogether fantastic and fun movie that the whole family can enjoy. Literally, it pretty much does have every single genre. As the sequels progress, you can even kind of see a little bit of film noir, the western genre. There's a bit of action in there too. I just can't see how anyone cannot fall in love with Back to the Future. That's why Back to the Future Part 1 gets 5 DeLoreans out of 5. Thanks. This is O.M.M. This is an O.M.M. review. And this is O.M.M. signing out.